Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 81, 756, First Battle against Gu Junxiang. 81st of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Wuxia, Zuming, Chaofeng, and Chunyu, the four immortal beasts of Junxiang. I never expected Gu Junxiang would master this Dao technique after breaking through to the fifth immortal realm, a knowledgeable 7th generation immortal practitioner murmured in astonishment from 200 miles away. This was the Emperor Junxiang's most powerful imperial technique. Legend has it he later developed the 10th, 11th, and 12th layers, evolving it into an immortal technique capable of shifting stars and altering destinies. Judging by its current power, it remains at the imperial technique level. Gu Junxiang is channeling it through his profound perception in the immortal bones of 4 ancient immortal giant beasts. So this is the technique he'll use against Li Weiyi's great wind, fire, thunder, and lightning formation. The 4 immortal beasts of Junxiang manifested with terrifying power, their forms towering like mountains across the sky. Their qi, dense and chaotic, stirred the earth qi and altered the celestial phenomenon. One half of the sky blazed with undying flames, while the other half was shrouded in ominous dark clouds. The veteran great immortal cultivators watching the battle were shaken to their cores, their minds reeling in awe. Gu Junxiang, barely 100 years old, possessed combat prowess rivaling that of old men who had cultivated for 4 or 5 centuries. His dazzling talent shone like a radiant moon, illuminating the entire world. Young cultivators from every state in the Calamity Crossing realm had gathered to witness the grandeur of immortal ascension beings. Now, their hearts surged with excitement, overwhelmed by the 4 immortal beasts of Emperor Junxiang's majestic aura and mystical spectacle. They felt viscerally the chasm-like gap between immortal realm martial mystic cultivators and immortal ascension being martial mystic cultivators at the same cultivation stage. The entire sky is ablaze. How can a single Dao technique unleash such overwhelming power? Is this the level of a 5th immortal realm ascension being? A young woman from the Dao Seed realm, hailing from one of the ancient myriad sects, gazed up with reverence and longing. Through the fiery haze, she strained to catch a glimpse of Gu Junxiang and Li Weiyi's figures, as if even a fleeting glimpse would be an honor. Nearby, an immortal ascension being from the demonic kingdom faction wore a bitter smile. The gap between a martial mystic cultivator in the 5th immortal realm and an immortal ascension being in the same realm was vast. The former was constantly driven by their limited lifespan, unsure if they would even survive another 60-year cycle. The latter, however, pursued the Nirvana realm as their ultimate goal, dreaming of traversing every inch of Yingzhou's divine land. Yet the distance between these immortal ascension beings and Li Weiyi and Gu Junxiang was even greater, a despair that outsiders could never truly comprehend. Suddenly, whoosh! A meteor-like sword radiance pierced through Zuming's crimson flame-wreathed ethereal body, tearing through the void. It was Li Weiyi. His body was enveloped in resplendent, 4-colored psychic armor, its radiance breathtaking, its Dao resonance as natural as the heavens. With a single strike, he shattered Gu Junxiang's 4 immortal beasts Dao technique, burst through the 4 beasts formation, and sent shockwaves through the demonic kingdom faction's experts watching from afar. Li Weiyi's martial mystic Dao has also broken through. He's reached the 5th immortal realm. Otherwise, he couldn't have pierced Zuming's body so easily. How is that possible? Did he also consume a body-transcending pill or some other treasure? Who knows? Perhaps he used the Chun cocoon, or perhaps he found some opportunity within that secret realm. Faced with Li Weiyi, who had simultaneously broken through in both the martial mystic Dao and psychic power, the immortal realm experts of the demonic kingdom faction dared not approach him alone. They gathered with shouts, forming formations of at least 10 before advancing. Only Gu Junxiang remained calm, even finding joy in Li Weiyi's breakthrough in the martial mystic Dao. He felt fortunate to encounter such a formidable opponent in his generation. Whoosh! Gu Junxiang teleported ahead of Li Weiyi, swinging his scepter to clash head-on with the yellow dragon sword. They exchanged palm strikes. In his psychic martial mystic fusion state, even Gu Junxiang was sent flying back 100 zhong by Li Weiyi's palm strike, the earth collapsing in foot-wide segments beneath him. Gu Junxiang had not neglected psychic power cultivation, but his mastery was insufficient to be effective in this level of combat. It was precisely his focus on the martial mystic Dao that allowed his cultivation speed and mastery to reach such extraordinary heights. Gu Junxiang steadied himself and watched Li Weiyi vanish like a shooting star into the distance, knowing pursuit was futile. He channeled all his spiritual qi into the void ruins Empress's scepter. Whoosh! A beam of light erupted from the scepter. Countless ancient and mysterious symbols materialized in the surrounding void. With a wave of the scepter, all the luminous rosy mist and arcane symbols transformed into a tidal storm, surging forth like a breached celestial river to pursue Li Weiyi. Their speed surpassed even the speed of escape light. Li Wei retrieved the evil camel bell and shook it with a flick of his wrist. From the bell, a dense, ink-like nether mist billowed forth, clashing against the pursuing rosy mist. The two forces eroded and annihilated each other in a chaotic dance of light and darkness. Clang! Clang! The muffled, sandy chime of the bell reverberated across hundreds of miles. The sound waves carried a mental attack that shattered the approaching mysterious symbols. Reaching the edge of the abyss, Li Wei leapt into the chasm, his body accelerating rapidly as he plummeted downward. Above, a group of immortal ascension being experts from the demon kingdom arrived, their shouts echoing as they hurled over a dozen spiritual artifacts into the abyss. The artifacts, each with unique forms and scripture-covered surfaces, coalesced into a raging river of spiritual energy that plunged into the abyss after Li Wei. The air thundered with explosions and churned with turbulent qi. Li Wei landed at the bottom of the abyss and abruptly halted. Behind him lay the entrance to the secret realm, where Pu Yanshou stood guard, ready to provide support. With his escape route secured, the pressure in his heart vanished. Li Wei channeled all his spiritual qi into the evil camel bell, transforming it into a towering, ancient bell over 3 meters tall. With a resounding boom, he struck the bell with his palm, sending ripples of spatial energy cascading outward. The bell flipped, its opening facing the surging river of spiritual artifacts hurtling toward it, generating a gravitational force capable of swallowing the heavens and devouring the earth. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than a dozen thousand inscriptions artifacts, like swallows returning to their nests, plunged into the bell's inner space, vanishing without a trace. Li Wei raised his head, gazing at the faint light filtering through the cave ceiling. His laughter echoed across the ground. Many thanks for your generous gifts of spiritual artifacts. Such a lavish offering, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Brother Yanshou, let's go. With these infuriating words, Li Wei and Pu Yanshou retreated into the tunnel with lightning speed. The formation glyphs within the tunnel activated one by one, illuminating in layers to form shimmering barriers of light. In the next instant, Jiyu Junxiang appeared at the tunnel entrance, staff in hand. He glanced at the flickering formation glyphs but didn't pursue, sighing inwardly. Li Wei, you know Shan Sheng and the others will soon break through to the fifth immortal realm. Why didn't you attempt to escape? Are you truly so confident in your strength? The Void Ruins Empress's scepter had been bestowed upon Jiyu Junxiang by the demon monarch, tasking him with seizing the jade tome of the life-preserving spring. Yet the crown prince's intention was to allow Li Wei to break through and escape. With this incident, Jiyu Junxiang had fulfilled his duty to the crown prince. It wasn't that he hadn't given Li Wei a chance, Li Wei himself had refused to leave. The immortal ascension beings of the demonic kingdom faction, enraged by the loss of their spiritual artifacts, descended one after another, imploring Jiyu Junxiang to lead an immediate attack on the secret realm. Gentlemen, do not dwell on temporary setbacks. A moment's impatience can ruin grand schemes. Wait just half a month more, and the demon kingdom's power will undergo a cataclysmic transformation. Invading the secret realm will then be as easy as turning your hand. Jiyu Junxiang reached out to examine the rock strata around the secret realm's entrance, studying them for a long while before probing deep into the earth. News of Li Wei's safe return to the secret realm spread like wildfire across the land, stirring up a massive uproar. 300 miles from the abyss's cavern, in a desolate mountain range, a concealment formation operated silently, concealing a group of mysterious powerhouses. Each wore a white bone mask, their eyes sharp as they gazed in unison toward the ancient immortal rift zone. Leading the group was Xuanhuan, city lord of Night City and one of the 3 great barbarian bandits of the southern territory of the Lingxiao realm. Alongside him stood Shener, the heavenly king of the Earth Wolf Army King, Shufodu of Coffin Mountain, and Xuanhuan himself. Several years ago, these 3 were considered the most notorious figures below the transcendents in the southern territory of the Lingxiao realm. Xuanhuan wore no mask. He appeared to be in his 50s, with high cheekbones and sunken cheeks, radiating not the aura of a bandit, but the calm, composed demeanor of a seasoned commander. Standing beside him were the most powerful warriors from various factions that had pledged allegiance to Qilin Zhuang, half of whom hailed from the Lingxiao realm. After Qilin Zhuang's successive defeats in the Lingxiao realm and the East Sea, the Dragon Sect, the 3 island barbarians, Night City, the 3 Chen Palace, and other forces found themselves with nowhere to turn in that southernmost life realm region. They had evacuated their entire clans, embarking on a long journey to the 100 realms of the living. Because Qilin Zhuang and the Crown Prince of the Demon Kingdom were allies united by common enemies, they received covert support from the Demon Kingdom. In the Wolf Sovereign Wilderness, they carved out a new foothold, conquering territories and establishing a new foundation for their future. The gathering of numerous great immortal experts in the Calamity Crossing realm was specifically to deal with Li Wei. The orders from above were clear. Capture him alive if possible, if not, kill him and bring back his corpse. Chen Ku, the supreme elder of the 3 Chen Palace, sighed softly. In the recent clash of spiritual willpower between the evil Camel Bell and the Void Ruins Empress's scepter, Jiyu Junxiang was clearly at a disadvantage. Otherwise, Li Wei would have been restrained and unable to escape back to the secret realm. Yuan Yan's gaze deepened. This is the advantage of a fifth realm holy spiritual spirit mind master. They possess far greater defensive capabilities against spiritual willpower attacks than Jiyu Junxiang. Tantai Jing, one of the 3 island barbarians of the eastern sky, stood alongside Shiner, Shu Fodu, and Yuan Yan. A beautiful young woman who retained a youthful allure, she wore translucent robes that revealed glimpses of her snow-white skin. She removed her mask, revealing phoenix eyes adorned with delicate gemstones and crimson lips like cinnabar. Who could have imagined that the boy who participated in the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival just a few years ago would now rise to become a figure capable of stirring the winds and clouds across the realm? He has even managed to align himself with existences like Yu Yaozi and Zhenhai Guanwu. Chen Ku, for all your reputation as the foremost expert in Li Province, you allowed such a formidable enemy to grow unchecked. I suspect you're no longer a match for him. Chen Ku offered no rebuttal. Yang Shenjing was once the strongest in Li Province, his vision and methods far surpassing mine. Yet even he failed to eliminate this threat early on. A cold smile curled Yuan Yan's lips. Yang Shenjing and Shu Fodu share a blood feud with the Zhu Li clan. Had they not acted decisively, they would have surely fallen by this boy's hand. Li Wei failed to break through and has retreated back into the secret realm. What should we do now? Tantai Jing asked. Yuan Yan gazed toward the secret realm, his eyes like frozen pools. Wait. The next move by the Demonic Kingdom faction's immortal ascension being will undoubtedly be the final battle. Whether Li Wei dies at their hands or manages to escape, the matter will soon be resolved. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 82, 757, West Sea King, Song Yangxian. 82nd of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Princess Yunchong was intercepted by 4 great Immortal Realm experts from the Demonic Kingdom faction while on her way to Calamity Crossing Temple. After a fierce clash of Dao Heart manifestations, she was forced to descend to the ground. I am a sentinel spirit of the Cave Void Camp. She declared, her voice ringing with authority. My sentinel lord is Immortal Master Zhuangxian of Calamity Crossing Temple. How dare you ambush a sentinel spirit who has rendered invaluable service to the human race right under the nose of Calamity Crossing Temple? Though her temples were frosted with age, Princess Yunchong showed no fear. She gripped her battle blade in one hand and brandished her sentinel spirit army waist token with the other. In her youth, she had honed her skills on countless battlefields. Even in her twilight years, she retained a formidable aura of heroic valor and martial mystic prowess. The 4 strongest martial mystic cultivators from the Demonic Kingdom faction stepped forward, bowing respectfully. Sentinel Spirit Song misunderstands, they said. We would never dare to commit the crime of ambushing a sentinel spirit. We pursued you only to invite you to Xiaoyao capital as a guest. The Demon Monarch, eager to recruit talent, offers you the 1,000 lives immeasurable pill to aid your breakthrough to the Nirvana realm. Princess Yunchong drew her battle blade, its polished edge gleaming with blinding light. And what if I refuse? The Demon Monarch has given his orders. We are left with no choice but to offend you slightly. 4 veteran great immortal realm cultivators from the Demonic Kingdom faction shifted through space, their Dao Heart manifestations pressing down on Princess Yunchong. Each ancestral field released millions of immortal scriptures, with the most prolific cultivator unleashing over 10 million. After a fierce struggle, Princess Yunchong broke through the encirclement, her blade dripping blood, and continued her desperate flight. Suddenly, the space around her trembled, and swirling purple mist began to materialize. Whoosh! Whoosh! One after another, figures radiating immense chi emerged from the purple mist, their governors' robes shimmering with violet light as they crossed the spatial barrier. In moments, the 4 great immortal realm cultivators from the Demonic Kingdom faction found themselves completely surrounded. Princess Yunchong halted, turning to look back. Recognizing the Mist Shadow army under the command of the Mist Celestial, her heart settled with relief. Whoosh! The entire landscape ignited before her eyes, dense patterns of golden flames spreading across the earth. The spring chill vanished completely, and even the wind fell silent. West Sea King Song Yangxian strode forward in full golden armor. He appeared even younger than Princess Yunchong. His left hand lightly gripped the long scabbard of his horse-slaying saber, his eyes flashing with thunder and fire as the endless mountains and rivers domain rapidly expanded beneath his feet. The endless mountains and rivers domain embodied his unwavering resolve to pacify the Ashen region west of the Lingxiao realm. For the past 1,000 years, within the Lingxiao realm, only the West Sea King, aside from the 3 palace masters of the imperial court, could rival the ancestors of the 4 great ancient myriad sects. He had single-handedly defended the Western territory with unparalleled wisdom and martial mystic prowess, remaining unyielding even against Qilin Zhuang and the demon race's massive armies. It's worth noting that figures like Zhuoqiu Xuanming and Tang Shituo, even among the sect leaders of the ancient sects and clan chiefs of the ancient clans, were by no means weaklings. A millennium ago, their respective factions had already reached the ancient level scale. Father, this jade slip was sent by Li Wei with instructions to deliver it immediately to the Grand Palace Master. It likely contains information about the situation within the secret realm, Princess Yunchong said, presenting the jade slip with both hands. The West Sea King accepted the jade slip, examined it briefly, and his pupils constricted sharply. Leave this to me. Return to the secret realm entrance and resume your duties. His gaze swept over the 4 veteran great immortal realm experts of the demonic kingdom faction. Did you record the spiritual light projections of their hunt for the sentinel spirit? Every moment was recorded, from beginning to end. They attempted to kill and seize the spirit under the guise of a forced invitation, a Mist Shadow Army Martial Mystic Cultivator replied, holding up a scroll. Then kill them. Send copies of the scroll to Xiaoyao Capital and Cave Void Camp. With these instructions, the West Sea King vanished from the spot, departing ahead of the others. The golden patterns of the endless mountains and rivers on the ground rapidly faded, dissolving into nothingness. Yaoyan returned to the group of Calamity Crossing Temple disciples, cradling the jade box in her hands. Several female disciples, close friends of hers, teased her, playfully calling her, Little Yaoyan. Even while being pursued by Jiyu Junxiang, Li Wei still managed to give you a spiritual fruit he picked in the secret realm. That shows how much you mean to him. He's the Southern Dragon, ranked first on the immortal ranking. If he survives this ordeal, he'll soar to unimaginable heights in the future. Hurry, open it and see what kind of pair it is. The disciples chattered excitedly, their envy for Yaoyan growing after witnessing Li Wei and Jiyu Junxiang's formidable power. The nickname, Little Yaoyan, now felt particularly intimate. As the jade box opened, the refreshing fragrance of the youthful jade pair instantly filled the air, spreading dozens of yards in all directions. A gentle rain of jade-colored light began to fall within the surrounding space. Everyone was drawn in by the aroma, their appetites surging to unprecedented levels, and they couldn't help but swallow hard. Is this a youthful jade pair? The Calamity Crossing Temple disciples were no ordinary folk, each a dragon or phoenix among mortals, with many of noble birth. One of them exclaimed in astonishment. It really is a youthful jade pair. Eating just one will preserve your youth for life, maintaining your youthful appearance until your lifespan withers away, a middle-aged Taoist nun from the temple said, her eyes filled with envy as she gazed at Yaoyan. Is it truly that miraculous? Where can I buy one? This item is precious. The middle-aged Taoist nun said. To some, it's worthless, but to beauty-loving dignitaries, they'd gladly spend thousands of spiritual crystals to acquire it. You must understand, the higher one's cultivation, the longer they'll endure the ravages of old age in their later years. Yaoyan, eat it quickly before someone else eyes it. All right. Yaoyan cradled the jade pear, nearly half the size of her face, and took a delicate bite. She couldn't shake the feeling that Li Wei was acting strangely. He had never called her, Little Yaoyan, before. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, his words carried an undeniable intimacy. Beside her, Shi drooled uncontrollably, his eyes practically glued to the jade pear. Whoosh! Elder Qin erupted from the ground, his scarred face looming over Shi, blocking his view. He grinned, his face pressed close to Shi's, who recoiled in terror, stumbling backward. Elder Qin, what brings you to the Calamity Crossing Realm? Yaoyan asked, her eyes darting around in surprise. Elder Qin chuckled telepathically, Little Yaoyan, how about giving that jade box to this old man? Yaoyan instantly understood why the Divine Hidden One had been acting so strangely. She lowered her gaze to the jade box in her hand and subtly slipped it to Elder Qin without leaving a trace. With the jade box secured, Elder Qin vanished back into the earth. Li Wei knew this secret realm might be the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy, a place even the Zongsheng Academy Emperor's consciousness valued highly. How could he possibly keep it from Lu Tianqian? Back in Xiaoyao capital, he had asked Lu Tianqian to relay this secret to the Grand Palace Master. In other words, Yu Yaozi, Lu Tianqian, and the others had known for 3 months that this was no ordinary secret realm. Their level of attention naturally differed, which explained why the West Sea King had appeared here. Yaoyan carefully ate her jade pear, holding it in her hands. Nearby, she overheard the Calamity Crossing Temple disciples discussing. Quickly send word back to the temple about the youthful jade pear. We need to summon Master and the elders. That secret realm must be overflowing with rare and precious treasures. Once the demon kingdom breaches the entrance, we need to rush in and claim our share. What if they block the entrance? They wouldn't dare. We're not involved in the immortal ascension competition. The opportunities within the secret realm are for everyone to seize. Yaoyan's delicate brows furrowed slightly, but a sly smile crept across her face. If the secret realm is breached and the passage opens, what's stopping us from entering? This secret realm lies within the Calamity Crossing Temple's territory. The treasures inside belong to us. Shi raised his fist in agreement. Exactly. Even the one who discovered the secret realm was Xuanhuan, a disciple of our Calamity Crossing Temple. No matter how you look at it, this secret realm belongs to us. If we delay, we won't even get a youthful jade pear, let alone any precious herbs. Hu Yanshu's eyes gleamed as he stared intently at Li Wei ever since they returned to the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy. How did it go? Who won? Meng Kui asked anxiously, visibly surprised to see Li Wei emerge unscathed. Facing the group's expectant gazes, Li Wei smiled calmly. Overall, I think Ji Junxiang is a decent fellow. His talent is astonishing, and he's remarkably upright. At the end of the day, we were just competing for the life-preserving spring, there was no personal grudge. So, I didn't kill him. The three members of the Meng clan froze, unsure how to respond. Qingshang glanced at Xuanhuan, her eyes seeming to ask, has he always been such a liar? Li Wei wasn't exaggerating, he spoke with genuine sincerity. When he accepted the challenge, he had genuinely intended to surprise Ji Junxiang with the divine sword talisman and eliminate him swiftly, easing the pressure of the upcoming final battle. However, his decision not to use the talisman wasn't solely out of admiration for Ji Junxiang. Rather, Ji Junxiang was meticulous, cautious, and his body technique was lightning fast. In the brief exchange, Li Wei couldn't find a foolproof opportunity to strike. Hu Yanshu smiled and said, please don't think Brother Li is joking. His martial mystic Dao has already broken through to the fifth immortal realm. In my opinion, Ji Junxiang has little chance of defeating him. What? Meng Siqi and Meng Sixian exclaimed in unison. Even Qingshang, Meng Kui, and Xuanhuan were stunned. Gai's Peng slumped down, his heart heavy with grief and a sense of eternal defeat. Li Wei's expression turned solemn. I only gained a slight advantage by borrowing the Chun cocoon. Why are you all so shocked? Isn't today a test of our friendship and trust? If you help me win this final battle, I, Li Wei, will personally lead you to an even greater opportunity. Li Wei's words, spoken with the authority of his dual fifth realm cultivation, immediately instilled a powerful sense of confidence and momentum. The members of Zhongsheng Academy no longer hesitated. The group immediately began discussing their battle strategy. The five masters of Zhongsheng Academy positioned themselves around the passage, preparing their defenses. Gai's Peng hauled over small mountains, massive boulders, jade walls, and broken steles, constructing a ring of fortifications around the passage to create a walled city formation. Li Wei and Xuanhuan were alone together, spreading out the 7 maps on the ground and piecing them together. These 7 maps are severely damaged, with many areas blurred and illegible. I've studied them extensively, but some parts remain completely incomprehensible, like this area here. Li Wei pointed to the central region of the map. See, this should be the residual formation area where you've been cultivating recently. But what do these 7 lines represent? They radiate from the mountain peak in 7 directions, piercing through the entire map. This seems to be the very reason these 7 maps exist. Could they be chains buried deep underground? Xuanhuan suggested. Li Wei's brow furrowed. 7 chains piercing through the entire great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy. Your theory. It's not difficult to verify, but it's so mind-shatteringly profound that one hesitates to even consider it. Let's try using the original lamp's light to see if we can restore the maps, Xuanhuan said. She formed the lotus finger seal, and the boundless spirit realm within her mind opened. Deep within its depths, an ancient, dilapidated lamp materialized. Compared to her spirit realm, the 100 Zhong spirit realms of other holy spiritual masters seemed like shallow pools. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 83, 758, The Secret Realm's Great Change. 83rd of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The ancient lamp lay shattered, fragments drifting around its cracked core. It hung motionless, eternally undying. Even a single shard radiated unfathomable power. Wisps of light, like smoke or mist, gently enveloped Xuanhuan. Her skin grew even more luminous and flawless, her pores vanishing entirely. A light touch seemed to ripple across her surface, while her Tao resonance deepened, as if she had transcended the boundaries of space and time. The condensed spiritual light surrounding her rivaled Li Wei's 4-colored spiritual light in intensity. Master Coffin once hinted that someone in our generation might possess an immortal artifact. He was likely referring to Hongting. During the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, Li Wei had witnessed Xuanhuan ignite the flame within the broken lamp between her brows, setting ablaze the immortal feather left behind by Yu Jia. That was a true immortal feather, far surpassing even the bodies of transcendence in power. However, unleashing such destructive flames couldn't be a casual feat. The claim of a broken supreme artifact was the official explanation released by the Zuoqiu sect. No one understood this tactic better than Li Wei, having employed it himself countless times. To conceal a greater secret, one must proactively reveal a lesser one, something shocking yet limited in impact, and ultimately within one's control. The king-grade larval phoenix-winged dragon-scaled butterfly, and the youthful jade pear, had both served this purpose. Under the primordial lamp's illumination, the modeled maps on the 7 spiritual light neonly scrolls shimmered with an ethereal glow. The fragmented and blurred areas seemed to be repaired by invisible divine brushes. The lines solidified from mere outlines, connecting where they had been broken. The images restored to completeness. Li Wei, concealing his astonishment, glanced at Xuanhuan's spirit realm between her eyebrows before quickly studying the maps on the ground. Previously incomprehensible sections now stood out with clarity. The three-tiered structure of the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy was revealed in intricate detail, vividly three-dimensional and laid bare before him. Li Wei pressed his index and middle fingers together, tracing a line extending from the central mountain to the map's edge. Is this the passage to the lower level? A door symbol marked the spot. Previously, the area had been too blurry to discern any markings. Xuanhuan's spirit realm continued to radiate light, her eyelashes glistening as she nodded solemnly. Correct. The passage to the second level is actually located along this line. Are you truly going to take the 5 members of Zhongsheng Academy down there? She was particularly excited about the second layer of the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy, believing it held great treasures. They kept their word, so I'll honor my promise as well. Whether they dare to descend depends on their courage. It's extremely dangerous down there, Li Wei said. Xuanhuan, intrigued by his serious demeanor, asked, how do you know it's so dangerous? Did you sneak down there behind my back? You could say that, Li Wei replied with a smile, unwilling to lie to her. On the map, the area representing the second layer of the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy was marked with symbols for stone tablets, the azure cloud furnace, and the abyss of fallen Tao. This confirmed that the 5-soul body and the guardian wife had indeed gone to the lower levels when they first entered. The so-called abyss of fallen Tao was the deep chasm several miles from the azure cloud furnace. The chasm was astonishingly wide and bottomless, its cliffs covered in runes and formation glyphs, undoubtedly the work of heaven-defying techniques that had left a profound impression on Li Wei. It was only after reading about the abyss of fallen Tao in the jade slip left by Senior Zhongsheng that Li Wei deduced this was likely the place being referred to. According to the map, the abyss of fallen Tao served as the passage to the third layer. The second gate marker was located at the far right of the map, on the edge of the abyss of fallen Tao. This might be the true entrance to the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy. Li Wei thought, his eyes filled with apprehension and solemnity. The image of the azure cloud furnace, riddled with cracks, and the 13 altar cauldrons sealed with crimson runes, flashed through his mind. The sheer strangeness of it all sent shivers down his spine. Even the memory made his hair stand on end. His true instinct, to flee as far as possible, was almost impossible to suppress. Xuanhuan pointed to the bottom of the map. Why is the third layer shrouded in darkness? What does this fissure running through the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy represent? You've been there, tell me about it. She looked up at Li Wei with curiosity, sensing that he was holding back something significant, as if hiding a great secret. Li Wei struggled to explain. After careful consideration, he said, "Haunting, the situation below is extremely strange. It contains a terrifying power that even Senior Zhongsheng feared deeply. If not for the demonic kingdom faction's forces blocking the exit, I would have fled long ago. I don't want to stay here another day. I have no choice, but you do." Wei, what do you mean? The spiritual light between Xuanhuan's eyebrows faded, and her exquisite, bright eyes seemed to anticipate his next words. A smile played on her crimson lips as she gazed at him. Li Wei said, "Don't go down there. Once I obtain the Golden Holy Bone Manual and the Golden Skeleton Scriptures, I'll definitely share the cultivation methods with you. If you encounter danger below and can't return, how will we withstand the Demon Kingdom? What am I supposed to do? Surrender. Surrendering means handing over our spiritual artifacts. Do you really think I'd give up the primordial lamp?" Xuanhuan stood up, her wide Taoist robe pressed tightly against her lithe figure by the wind, accentuating her long, straight legs and slender, powerful waist. Her tone was resolute. "That's why, from the moment I joined the Immortal Ascension competition and decided to support you, I never considered surrendering." Li Wei met her gaze, which held both determination and a hint of reproach. He softened his voice. "I was being inconsiderate. All right, we'll advance and retreat together." Without another word, they hurried toward the central mountain where they had harvested the youthful jade pear. At the foot of the mountain, they observed for a while before cautiously digging downward along the fissure emitting azure cloud immortal chi. They needed to understand the situation first. Do these 7 lines truly represent 7 chains that run through the entire great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy? This was crucial. It directly impacted the danger of opening the second-level passage. After digging down several dozen meters, azure cloud immortal chi began to emanate from the ground. Li Wei immediately stopped and flew out of the pit. The chains beneath the surface and the earthly tome scriptures surrounding them were extremely dangerous and must not be touched. Li Wei gazed at the distant central mountain, its majestic peak towering against the horizon. He could faintly make out the 7 halls and the white pagoda, his brow furrowed deeply. This place is at least 70 or 80 miles from that mountain. Perhaps your prediction has proven accurate once again. 100,000 years ago, the chains likely weren't buried this deep, Xuanhuan Haunting speculated. Time, wind-blown sand, and shifting chi currents gradually buried them beneath the earth. Let's go. We need to verify this. Li Wei followed the direction of the chains, venturing further into the distance. Over the next few days, Li Wei and Xuanhuan Haunting traversed the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy, locating and mapping all 7 chains represented by the underground lines. They made an even more significant discovery. Every area within the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy shrouded by ancient residual formations lay directly above one of the 7 chains. That day, Li Wei and Xuanhuan Haunting returned to the towering central mountain where the 7 chains converged. Gazing at it from afar, the initial awe they had felt during the days of excavation had gradually transformed into a heavy sense of foreboding. Perhaps Guys Peng truly witnessed something terrifying on the mountain that day, Li Wei mused. Considering the vastness of this secret realm, it's truly bizarre that we've only found a handful of precious and essence herbs. His desire to escape grew more urgent. Not only did the second layer seem to be suppressing a living entity, but this first layer also filled them with dread. What exactly had Senior Zongsheng and the others been secretly researching here all those years ago? It couldn't have been merely pill refinement. The 7 chains, each as thick as a water vat and stretching hundreds of miles long, were using the entire secret realm to bind it. Whoosh! The resounding beat of wings echoed through the air. Xuanhuan Qingting and 6th Phoenix returned, bearing urgent news. Upon hearing their report, Li Wei and Xuanhuan Haunting's expressions shifted dramatically. They rushed to the other side of the mountain. The sight that greeted them there sent a chill down their spines, their hearts pounding with panic. Over the past few months, the area where Zongsheng Academy's 3 scholars and Xuanhuan Haunting had been cultivating by absorbing azure cloud immortal chi had undergone a catastrophic transformation. The azure netherstone archway had collapsed into the earth, and the fissure in the ground had widened severalfold, stretching over 100 miles as if cleaving the land in 2. At its widest point, the fissure stretched 2 to 3 jong across. The chains were now fully exposed, and the characters of the earthly tome flowed ceaselessly. The fissure has grown longer and wider, yet the azure cloud immortal chi has become even fainter. The other 6 chains haven't shown any such anomalies, Li Wei observed, turning to Xuanhuan Haunting. Do you think we're being manipulated by the unknown entity sealed below? Xuanhuan Haunting's voice carried a chill. Are you suggesting that every time we strike the chains with the earthly tome's scriptures, activating the azure cloud immortal chi, we're actually eroding the tome's characters below, weakening Senior Zongsheng's seal, and helping the unknown entity break free? Remember Pu Yanshou. He was the first to notice this phenomenon. But when he struck the ground with the earthly tome's scriptures, he was in a dazed state, claiming it was as if some supernatural force guided his hand, Li Wei said, his unease growing. It's not impossible, Xuanhuan Haunting replied. Even Senior Zongsheng's strongest seal couldn't withstand the erosion of 100,000 years. The earthly tome's characters, though mutually reinforcing, can also wear each other down. Let's head to the entrance to the second level, Li Wei urged, sensing imminent danger. He felt the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy was about to erupt into a crisis far beyond his cultivation level to handle. They had to leave immediately. Following one of the chains deeply buried underground, Li Wei and Xuanhuan Haunting flew for hundreds of miles until they reached the edge of the secret realm. The sky was perpetually twilight, casting a dim, dusky light. The desolate landscape was littered with massive boulders half buried in the earth. At the secret realm's edge, towering mountains pierced the sky like an impenetrable wall. The wind howled through the peaks like 1,000 swords, its piercing roar deafening. Xuanhuan Haunting activated the concealment formation she had previously set up. Then, Xuanhuan Qingting fluttered out from her sleeve, her body shimmering with light as she expanded to a length of 12 meters. The dragonfly's membranous wings vibrated violently against the ground, peeling away layers of earth foot by foot. Gradually, 2 stone doors hidden beneath the surface emerged. The doors stood vertically, each 10 meters tall, large enough for even the massive aberrant race martial mystic cultivators and demon beasts to pass through. Carved into their surfaces were intricate pill cauldron patterns, but there were no handles. I've checked, Xuanhuan said, raising her jade-like arm and pointing a slender finger through the air. The stone doors and the surrounding area are protected by a defensive formation only. There are no offensive or killing formations. A wisp of spiritual light landed on the stone door. Whoosh! A faint azure light shimmered across the door's surface, revealing formation glyphs that flickered within the luminous veil. The formation glyphs were faint, as if a gust of wind could disperse them. Li Wei approached, releasing his psychic power to examine them closely. He observed the glyphs around the stone gate. This defensive formation was once a holy formation, but now the glyphs are severely damaged. At best, it's equivalent to a high-grade spiritual formation. Give me some time, and I should be able to break it. Li Wei dared not use brute force to break the formation. No one knew what lay behind the stone gate. After all, one of the 7 chains deep underground was connected to this place. Moreover, awakening the living being within the second level of the azure cloud furnace would unleash an immeasurable calamity. Breaking the formation required deciphering the glyphs and refining them away. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. With their combined efforts, over half of the glyphs on the stone gate had been refined away. An urgent message talisman flew in from the horizon. Yuzan is attempting to persuade us to surrender, offering the jade scroll of the scepter of the Void Ruins Empress in exchange for the jade tome of the life-preserving spring. The demon kingdom is about to launch a full-scale attack. They're moving several days ahead of schedule, Li Wei muttered. He instructed Xuanhuan to remain and continue breaking the formation while he rushed alone to the passage entrance. He had to intercept the immortal ascension beings of the demonic kingdom faction and buy more time. Passing by the central mountain, Li Wei noticed that the ground fissures had doubled in size in just a few days. Cracks had also appeared in the other 6 directions. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 84, 759. The Decisive Battle Begins. 84th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. By the time Li Wei returned, the Immortal Realm experts of the Demonic Kingdom faction had already begun breaching the formation. Explosions echoed through the tunnel. The formation barrier at the tunnel entrance flickered with light. The ground trembled violently. The 5 masters of Zhongsheng Academy stood atop the makeshift fortress city's stone walls, activating their blood-floating pagoda demon armor. Crimson scriptures covered their skin as they summoned their spiritual artifacts, their gazes fixed solemnly on the tunnel entrance 30 meters away. Li Wei descended gracefully, landing beside Pu Yanshou. He drew the 10-star treasure bow. Fellows, he said, after our time together, I've come to trust your character. Li Wei considers you his friends. Agui, he continued, turning to Guise Peng, if you can eliminate 10 immortal ascension beings from the demonic kingdom faction in this battle, I'll grant you your freedom. Guise Peng's face lit up. Lord Li, as the Heavenly Emperor's Dao Technique successor, you must keep your word. I treat those who are sincere with sincerity in return. Li Wei successively drew the yellow dragon sword and the evil camel bell. He wore the blood-floating pagoda demon armor and the pitch-black myriad inscriptions artifact 8 divisions profound robe. The 5th phoenix and 7th phoenix stood on his left and right, wings folded, necks arched high, radiating an air of divine majesty. Within the passage, the piercing clangs of swords and the deep roars of dragons echoed. Qingshang assessed the situation, they're leading with the sword river cloud dragon formation. 28 swords, arranged in a sword formation, are flying ahead with overwhelming force. No one can stop them in this narrow passage. Combine our power to activate the Purple Heaven Thunder Seal's primordial awakening, Li Wei ordered. The Purple Heaven Thunder Seal soared above Fortress City. From the ancestral fields of the 7 masters, 7 streams of profound spiritual chi surged forth, converging into the seal. The black iron seal instantly expanded into a massive, square form, unleashing over 10,000 scripture characters and violet lightning. It blazed like a purple sun, its majestic power illuminating the heavens and earth as lightning bolts crisscrossed the sky. Boom. The final layer of the formation's protective barrier shattered under the strike of a sword. Immediately, a second sword followed, then a third. 28 high-grade 1000 inscriptions artifact battle swords surged forward with the deafening roar of a raging river and the long, echoing cry of a cloud dragon. Swish, swish. Sword marks crisscrossed the ground in chaotic patterns. Between the swords, circles of formation plates formed the sinuous silhouette of a white dragon, its head rising to strike at Li Wei on the city wall. Such overwhelming power made it impossible for the evil camel bell to contain. Only by awakening the primordial power of the myriad inscriptions artifact and shattering the formation plates with thunder and lightning could the formation be broken. This required foresight, tactical acumen, and decisive judgment. By the time the 28 battle swords flew in, activating the myriad inscriptions artifact would be too late, Li Wei would already be defeated. Boom. The Purple Heaven Thunder Seal descended, forcing the cloud dragon to lower its head. The formation plates shattered in rings, accompanied by the crisp sound of breaking swords. High-grade 1000 inscriptions artifacts, jointly activated by 7 cultivators using the primordial power of the myriad inscriptions artifact, were shattered and melted. The ground at the tunnel entrance collapsed. The walls of Fortress City, unable to withstand the force, trembled and threatened to crumble. Li Wei knew that Jiyu Junxiang would inevitably follow closely behind the sword formation. The Purple Heaven Thunder Seal wouldn't have a second chance to strike. Without hesitation, he drew back his bow, nocked an arrow, and fired it into the tunnel, without even seeing if anyone was emerging. By the time he could see them, it would be too late. Inside the tunnel, Jiyu Junxiang felt an eerie sensation, as if he were deliberately colliding with the arrow, courting death. The enemy's reaction was too swift, leaving him no room to maneuver. Fortunately, he had anticipated this. The primordial power of the Shenyu furnace, which he had positioned before him, awakened, transforming into a towering, shield-like form that clashed head-on with Li Wei's full-power arrow. The arrow exploded into molten iron shards, dissolving in the flames. Behind the Shenyu furnace, Jiyu Junxiang stood with one hand gripping his staff and the other pressed against the furnace's body. His entire being surged with spiritual qi and scripture, channeling through the narrow passage to withstand the explosive force of Li Wei's arrow. He had successfully seized the initiative. Li Wei, wielding the Golden Cloud Thunder Seal, soared into the passage. He struck the Shenyu furnace with the seal. Golden thunder and lightning, interwoven with myriad inscriptions artifact scripture, pierced through the furnace's raging flames, targeting Jiyu Junxiang. Behind the furnace, Jiyu Junxiang's battle intent blazed. Rooted to the ground, he channeled his full power into a palm strike against the furnace, unleashing its fiery torrent toward Li Wei. Boom! The two myriad inscriptions artifacts collided in the confined passage. The deafening roar shattered Li Wei and Jiyu Junxiang's eardrums. The violent force paralyzed their bodies, rattled their bones, and shook their internal organs, nearly causing them to vomit blood. Both warriors, fiercely determined, clashed relentlessly, refusing to yield the passage. They exchanged dozens of strikes. The passage's entrances transformed into twin megaphones, blasting concentric rings of thunder and fire outward. The destructive energy was terrifying, the sound louder than divine thunder, deterring all who dared approach. Are they insane? Onlookers wondered. To use myriad inscriptions artifacts in such a narrow passage, fighting to the death without retreat. No matter how high their cultivation, can their physical bodies truly withstand such punishment? Yu Zhan activated the Shiyu bracelet to its primordial awakening. As soon as Jiyu Junxiang retreated, he would immediately take his place and strike. Li Wei's body coalesced into four-colored armor, combining psychic martial mystic techniques. With both palms extended, he struck the Purple Heaven Thunder Seal. Instantly, Jiyu Junxiang was blasted backward. After 3 consecutive strikes, Jiyu Junxiang was hurled out of the tunnel like a cannonball. He skidded along the bank of the underground river, his legs carving a deep trench into the ground as the riverbank collapsed. Blood streamed from Jiyu Junxiang's ears, nose, and mouth, his face rapidly shifting between green and purple. The world spun around him, and he could hear nothing. Ku Yao rushed forward to support him. Jiyu Junxiang raised a hand to refuse assistance, steadying his swaying body and circulating his spiritual qi to regulate his breathing. He glanced up at the tunnel entrance and saw Shan Sheng had seized the opportunity, darting into the tunnel ahead of Yu Zhan like a bolt of lightning. Inside, the resonant chimes of bells echoed. The sounds of collision were even louder than before. Li Wei isn't faring much better than me. If he tries to defend the tunnel, he'll be defeated today. We can't give him any time to rest or heal, we need to wear him down. Jiyu Junxiang quickly recovered, formulating a new strategy. His eyes gleamed with renewed battle intent. Yu Zhan, Shen Ji, and Cao Lin, all at the 5th Immortal Realm, positioned themselves at 3 points around the tunnel entrance. They activated the Shiyu bracelet, mountain measuring ruler, and immortal demon bow to their primordial awakening states, respectively. The aftershocks of the 3 myriad inscriptions artifacts, primordial awakening caused the deep underground cave to collapse, sending mud and rocks tumbling down. Shan Sheng, combining psychic and martial mystic techniques, clashed 18 times with Li Wei, who also wielded a psychic martial mystic fusion technique, using the Bodhi Golden Bell to counter the 18 unmanifest palms of the Arhat. PFF'd. Shan Sheng spat out a mouthful of blood, the Bodhi Golden Bell flying from his grasp. His robes were torn to shreds, and blood streamed from his eyes and ears. Before charging into the tunnel, Shan Sheng had already activated the Bodhi Golden Bell's primordial awakening, bringing it to its peak state. Li Wei, on the other hand, hadn't had the chance to awaken the Purple Heaven Thunder Seal's primordial power and had already been injured in his earlier clash with Jiyu Junxiang. Whoosh! Giving Li Wei no time to recover, Cao Lin unleashed an arrow from the 10,000 inscription spiritual bow, now awakened to its primordial form. The arrow's radiant light instantly illuminated the 30-meter-long tunnel, striking the purple heaven thunder seal with a thunderous roar that sent Li Wei flying backward. The 5 individuals present were all extraordinary talents, each possessing the wisdom and reflexes to seize the optimal moment to strike. The Shiyu bracelet spun through the air, while the mountain measuring ruler flew like a sword, trailing closely behind the arrow. Together, they hurled Li Wei and the golden cloud thunder seal out of the tunnel, his body crashing through the fortress city's walls. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yu Zhan and Shen Ji, like 2 streaks of light, instantly entered the passage and stood within the great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy. We're finally in. Yu Zhan's face had just broken into a smile when a shadow enveloped him. The 5th-tier pagoda tower, formed by the 5 members of Zhongsheng Academy, appeared above his head and began to descend. Yu Zhan immediately raised his hands, supporting the Shiyu bracelet to block the attack. The Shiyu bracelet spun, expanding to a diameter of over 3 meters, and myriad inscriptions artifact scripture flew out, forming a massive circular barrier. Beside him, Shenji retracted the mountain measuring ruler, wielding it like a sword as he slashed at the approaching Li Wei. Li Wei, gripping his sword with both hands, forced Shenji to retreat repeatedly, driving him back into the passage. Li Wei, I know you showed mercy during the battle at Crescent Moon Pass, but I have no choice. If you fall today, I will spare no effort to save your life. Shenji felt Li Wei's power was boundless and impossible to withstand. Save your own life first. Blood streaked Li Wei's lips, but his eyes burned with fierce intensity. The moment he charged out of the passage, the yellow dragon sword screeched against the mountain measuring ruler, sending sparks flying as myriad inscriptions artifact scripture scattered, blasting Shenji backward into the distant stone wall of the abyss. The entire underground cavern trembled. Today's battle would be decided by the clash between 5th Immortal Realm powerhouses, with no formations deployed outside. The Immortal Realm experts of the Demonic Kingdom faction had gathered several miles away, awaiting the breach of the passage to swarm in. The passage had indeed been breached earlier, but the window was too brief. Even Ji Junxiang's speed couldn't capitalize on the opening to expand their advantage. Li Wei stood resolutely at the passage entrance, his sword held aloft. He gazed down at Ji Junxiang and Shan Shenzhen on opposite banks of the underground river, then turned his gaze upward to Cao Lin, who stood poised on a cloud of mist with her bow drawn, and Shen Ji, who had just broken free from the cliff wall. Behind him, the sounds of battle echoed ceaselessly from within the secret realm. With the 5 masters of Zhongsheng Academy, the 5th Phoenix, the Medicine King Jade B, and Gai's Peng all engaged, Yu Zhan, even as a 5th Immortal Realm powerhouse, stood no chance of gaining any advantage. Amitabha. Lord Li's combat prowess is unmatched within his realm. If we fail to achieve victory today, Shan Shenzhen will immediately depart southern Yingzhou and return to the western Buddhist kingdom to cultivate in seclusion. Shan Shenzhen, feeling guilty for resorting to a gauntlet-style battle and a coordinated assault, made this solemn vow. The Bodhi golden bell hovered above his head, radiating boundless golden light. Heavy as a mountain, it illuminated him like a Buddha incarnate. If we fail to achieve victory today, Shenji will not emerge from Calamity Crossing Temple for the next 60-year cycle. Shenji, wielding the mountain measuring ruler and standing atop the 8 trigrams formation seal, hovered 30 feet above the ground. A swirling cloud of over 1 million immortal scripture characters condensed around him, churning ceaselessly. Since you two have shown such resolve, I will grant you a path to survival today. Li Wei's sharp gaze swept across them, his voice ringing with unwavering conviction. Ji Junxiang, if I defeat all 4 of you alone, what will you say? Shan Shenzhen, Shen Ji, and Cao Lin exchanged glances, their eyes flashing with astonishment at his audacious declaration of war. Ji Junxiang raised his scepter, his expression unchanged. With such determination, how could I refuse to accompany you? This was no mere promise. It was a declaration to Li Wei that he need not worry about guarding the entrance to the secret realm during the battle. Ji Junxiang would not seize the opportunity to invade. Very well, Shenji replied simply. Shan Shenzhen pressed his palms together, chanted a Buddhist invocation, and murmured, if I lose this battle, I will have no face to remain in southern Yingzhou. Then it's settled. No one flees. Victory or elimination. Cao Lin, her face veiled by a purple scarf, drew the 10,000 inscription spirit bow to its full draw, a gale of wind force swirling around her as her willpower locked onto Li Wei. They knew nothing of the situation within the secret realm, nor what preparations Li Wei had made there. If they could settle the matter outside the secret realm, all the better. News of this confrontation rapidly spread across the land. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 85, 760, The Underground Battle. 85th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. The great ancient land of the Tao of Alchemy was located in Pil Prefecture, within the Calamity Crossing realm. Over the past few months, countless cultivators had flocked to Dan Prefecture, eager to witness the spectacle. About 10 days ago, Li Wei had risked venturing out of the secret realm to deliver a message to the Lingxiao Palace, bringing with him youthful jade pears harvested from within. Rumor even had it that Song Yangxian, the Lingxiao Palace's top transcendence, had personally appeared in response. All these events hinted at something extraordinary, sparking widespread speculation. Many believed the secret realm concealed treasures far more precious than even the life spring, otherwise why would Li Wei have taken such a risk? As a result, transcendents from the Demon Kingdom, Calamity Crossing Temple, Chaos Zone, and even the Holy Dynasty and Rice Palace, the southern Yingzhou's most formidable powers, were alerted. In recent days, the space teleportation formations of the Calamity Crossing realm had been frequently activated by the figures of renowned experts who had made their names decades ago. Had it not been for the inviolable order of the Immortal Ascension competition, and the mutual deterrence among the factions, transcendents would likely have forced their way into the secret realm long ago. When Yuzan, Shan Sheng, Shenji, and Shaolin emerged from seclusion at the Calamity Crossing Temple and rushed to this region, it caused a massive stir. Everyone knew that today might be the day the secret realm would be breached, finally unveiling its mysteries. The ground was already teeming with people. The power dynamics among the 9th generation Immortal Ascendants have been completely reshaped. The Demonic Kingdom faction has produced 5 5th Immortal Realm experts, securing a dominant advantage. These 5 are no ordinary figures. Even the least renowned Cao Lin is said to have grown up by the Demon Queen's side, surpassing all other palace experts of her generation. Once they eliminate Li Wei and seize the Jade Tome of the life-preserving spring, the Demonic Kingdom's 9th generation Immortal Ascendants will undoubtedly unleash their might across the 100 cities of the 14 contested provinces, the Wolf Sovereign Wilderness, and the Sagur Mountains with thunderous force. Some 9th generation Immortal Ascendants from the Lingxiao Palace, Rainforest Living Realm, and Holy Hall's Life Realm had secretly infiltrated the area, originally intending to protect Li Wei and help him escape if necessary. However, upon learning that Jiyu Junxiang, Shan Sheng, and the others had reached the 5th Immortal Realm, they grew deeply concerned, realizing that preserving the Jade Tome of the life-preserving spring had become an increasingly slim prospect. A Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivator from the Calamity Crossing Temple twitched his ear and couldn't help but exclaim softly, "Just received news from below, Li Wei has broken through." And he simultaneously declared war on Jiyu Junxiang, Shan Sheng, senior brother Shenji, and Cao Lin. The announcement stunned the surrounding cultivators into silence before erupting into a clamorous uproar. Shi froze. He didn't break in, he broke out. Senior brother Huang, is your information reliable? Exactly. Senior brother Huang, this news is absurd. Li Wei would have to be insane to challenge all 4 great experts at once. Senior brother Huang bristled. While my cultivation isn't strong enough to participate in the Immortal Ascension competition, my brother is down there. He just sent word that we need to prepare immediately, we can enter the secret realm any moment now. An elder from the Calamity Crossing Temple, his hair bound in a wooden crown, frowned in confusion before remarking, Li Wei, Jiyu Junxiang, Shan Sheng, and Shenji, their strengths vary, but they're all on the same level. In a 1-on-2 fight, Li Wei would lose 9 times out of 10. Against 3, he wouldn't last 10 moves. Against 4. This should be over quickly. Upon hearing these words, Yaoyan felt a surge of displeasure, but her expression quickly shifted to concern when she saw the face of the elder expert in the distance. This elder expert was a transcendent figure within the Calamity Crossing Temple, specifically tasked with ensuring the safety of the Eternal Ascension beings participating in the Immortal Ascension competition. His insight was unparalleled, and his understanding of the 9th generation Immortal Ascendant's capabilities was profound. His words carried weight. The news spread like wildfire, igniting the cultivators from various realms and states on both sides of the ancient Immortal Rift Zone's canyon. Lu Tianchen, Princess Yun Chong, and Elder Qin stood in the area closest to the secret realm's entrance. Lu Tianchen, as the Life Realm Lord, exuded an overwhelming aura. Faced with such a formidable presence, even the most ambitious demonic path cultivators, demon race members, Diak spirits, or martyr assassins trained by the Demon Kingdom sect would steer clear by hundreds of miles. His mere presence was enough to clear a path for Li Wei's escape and neutralize any dangers outside the Immortal Ascension competition. Elder Qin couldn't help but marvel, such audacity. Truly worthy of being the divine hidden one of our Zhu Li clan. If we win this battle, the Zhu Li clan's prestige will soar. From now on, when I peddle my wares across the realms. Cough cough. Lu Tianchen cast an icy glance at Elder Qin before turning his gaze toward the abyss, his thick brows furrowing. Even with his unwavering confidence in Li Wei, how could victory be possible when declaring war against the four great experts simultaneously? Lu Tianchen's first thought was that Li Wei must have an ulterior motive, one unrelated to winning the battle. Could he be planning to exploit the chaos to break free? Princess Yun Chong, having read the contents of the jade slip and letter, knew this was no safe place. It concealed a malevolent force even the Grand Palace Master feared. Could something have gone wrong in the secret realm? Perhaps Li Wei has been tainted by a great terror, a terror that now controls his body and willpower, seeking to escape through him. Lu Tianchen's expression turned grave as he recalled Li Wei's descriptions in the letter. The speculation seemed far-fetched. Yet it revealed the profound shock Li Wei's actions had caused, even among the older generation, driving them to consider such outlandish possibilities. Meanwhile, Chang Yukin sat inside her carriage, which was parked some distance away in a lush, dense forest. "Aunt, what do you think?" Chang Ji asked, standing outside the carriage as he sent the message talisman inside. Chang Yukin's slender, snow-white fingers held the talisman. After reading its contents, a flicker of something unusual flashed through her calm, water-like eyes. In terms of pure martial mystic Dao combat power, Li Wei lacks the profound perception fluctuations that give Jiyu Junxiang's 9 springs flawless an edge. Only by combining his 5th realm psychic power with his martial mystic Dao, creating a psychic martial mystic synergy, can he gain an absolute advantage. If Li Wei relies solely on psychic martial mystic synergy, Jiyu Junxiang and Cao Lin could defeat him by coordinating their attacks, close-range strikes to restrain him, long-range attacks to breach his defenses, forcing him to divide his focus, Chang Ji added. However, Li Wei's great wind, fire, thunder, and lightning formation is no ordinary formation. This must be his trump card. With Chang Yukin's cultivation level, she could sense the situation outside the secret realm, but she chose not to reveal herself. The message talisman in her hand dissolved into particles of light and dispersed. By using the secret technique of psychic martial mystic synergy, he'll have little energy or focus left to control the great wind, fire, thunder, and lightning formation, she said. That formation alone won't be enough to deal with the 4 great experts. You should know that each additional opponent increases the difficulty exponentially. But Li Wei never fights a battle he isn't confident of winning. From what I know of him, he grows stronger when facing formidable opponents, seizing victory from the narrowest of margins. He excels at exploiting his enemy's mental state, distracting them and sowing self-doubt. Whether by leveraging favorable timing and terrain, feigning weakness, or resorting to desperate, ruthless tactics, he always maximizes his strengths while minimizing his weaknesses, striking at his opponent's vulnerabilities with decisive force. Moreover, he often conceals hidden trump cards that guarantee victory with a single, unexpected strike. Chang Ji cited examples, like the evil camel bell he used to kill Tai Sui Earth Monarch, or the great wind, fire, thunder, and lightning formation he deployed during the breakout at Crescent Moon Pass. Chang Yukin, meditating in the carriage, replied with a Dao image as serene as the Netherworld. Indeed, his actions are always astonishing. Chang Ji recalled her earlier question, "Aunt, do you think Li Wei hasn't cultivated the profound perception, or that he simply hasn't used it?" Given Li Wei's demonstrated martial mystic Dao prowess, reaching the 5th realm without cultivating the profound perception seemed highly improbable. Are you suggesting he's either at the 4th immortal realm or the 5th immortal realm? A flicker of curiosity sparked in Chang Yukin's eyes. If he still doesn't use the profound perception this time, we'll finally know whether he's at the 4th immortal realm or the 5th immortal realm. To better deploy their formations, the immortal realm experts of the demonic kingdom faction had excavated the underground space at the secret realm entrance, creating a vast, cavernous chamber. The light remained dim. Though Cao Lin was a tier below the other 3, within her own realm, she could rival even emperor's disciples like Wenrenting Hai. Her specialties lay in body technique, archery, visual acuity, auditory perception, and concealment Dao techniques. Her spiritual artifact robes, crafted by an old nanny under the Demon Queen's command, could accelerate her speed to lightning-fast levels. She stood farthest from Li Wei, about 150 zhang away. The 10,000 inscription spirit bow, drawn to its full moon arc, posed a threat to Li Wei no less formidable than Jiyu Junxiang's. Splash! The underground river surged relentlessly, its roar echoing thunderously through the cavernous space. Li Wei held his sword in one hand and a bell in the other. Shan Shenge, your 1,000 Buddhas formation. Shen Ji, your paper soldiers. Both require ample space to unleash their full potential. In this confined underground arena, I hold the terrain advantage. You'd best have survival strategies ready, for blades have no eyes. Beware of meeting your end here. Your bluster only reveals your inner lack of confidence, Jiyu Junxiang retorted, unwilling to risk further delays that might complicate matters. Attack. Whoosh. The Void Ruins Empress's scepter struck the ground, creating a luminous barrier that enveloped the cavern. This prevented Li Wei from burrowing into the earth and restricted his movements. Shan Sheng, Cao Lin, and Shenji launched their attacks simultaneously. Shan Sheng, now clad in an iron cloth Buddhist robe and wielding a bell, charged forward, aiming to engage Li Wei in close combat. This further confined Li Wei's evasive maneuvers. Shenji unleashed the 8 trigrams formation seal from a distance. The seal hovered above Shan Sheng's head, descending like a celestial weight to crush Li Wei from above. The narrow gap between the seal and Shan Sheng's position served as Cao Lin's firing lane. The trio's coordinated attack was seamless. Cao Lin's arrow should have struck first, posing the greatest threat to Li Wei. But an unexpected twist occurred. The 7th Phoenix stealthily approached Cao Lin from behind. Despite her vigilance, the creature's claws struck her, throwing her off balance. The arrow veered wildly off course, posing no threat to Li Wei. Having landed her strike, 7th Phoenix immediately retreated into microscopic concealment, vanishing without a trace. Meanwhile, Li Wei completely ignored the 8 trigrams formation seal and the incoming golden bell. He softly uttered the word, forward, and a 4-colored flame flickered around him. In an instant, he traversed the void, appearing 100 zhang away, directly before Shenji. Having reached the holy spiritual psychic master 5th realm, Li Wei's mastery of the 6 Jia secret incantation had become even more refined. The psychic martial mystic fusion armor was merely one of the 9 characters of the 6 Jia secret incantation. Each character's psychic radiance, when combined with martial mystic Dao techniques, could produce distinct combat effects. The character, forward, represented instantaneous movement, allowing Li Wei to move at will. So fast, Shenji thought, instantly recognizing Li Wei's strategy, to eliminate him first. The yellow dragon sword seemed to require no time to activate, unleashing immense power with a single downward slash. 6 Jia Yang thunder crackled along the blade, while the ancient characters of the incantation glowed brightly. Whoosh! Whoosh! Shenji's figure plummeted, his Taoist robe sleeves billowing outward as countless humanoid talismans erupted forth, coalescing into a talisman cloud that mingled with spiritual qi and immortal scripture verses. Together, they formed a formidable barrier against Li Wei's world-splitting sword strike. As the sword's edge descended, the humanoid talismans in the spiritual qi cloud above Shenji's head crackled and exploded like popping beans, shattering in vast swaths. Successfully blocking Li Wei's lethal strike, Shenji displayed the prowess befitting the Calamity Crossing Temple's foremost expert. During this year within the time formation, this Taoist was not merely striving to break the immortal shackle, Shenji declared. For a year, I refined talismans day and night, eagerly awaiting this rematch. Li Wei had indeed intended to overwhelm Shenji with speed, aiming to cripple him in the opening exchange. Unfortunately, his opponent was no mere Qiyuan or Prince Tulu. Shenji was a master of unparalleled skill, his combat prowess, reaction speed, and strategic acumen all reaching peak levels. Even more critically, Shenji possessed unwavering self-awareness and decisive action. Rather than seizing the opportunity to counterattack, he landed swiftly and immediately widened the distance between himself and Li Wei. 2 afterimages flashed into existence. Jiyu Junxiang and Shan Sheng materialized behind Li Wei, flanking him on the left and right. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.